Hi, welcome to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all of the places you can find me should be linked in the description box just below the video here. Here on the channel you'll often find me chatting about my adventures in knitting and spinning and crochet, but today's video is a Yarn and Yarns extra, and on my 100th episode I asked all of you lovely folks out there if you had any video suggestions for me, and one of the things that came up a couple of times was a little bit more insight into my life as a yarn shop owner, and one of the topics that was suggested was window displays. I thought that would make quite a nice video, and I'm about to start the process for changing my window display for the first time in 2020. I thought this would be the ideal time to tackle this project, so I will be recording this video over the space of a few weeks, and then I shall edit it all together and upload it onto YouTube, so I hope you enjoy this. I figured I would chat to you a little bit about the process that goes on in my wee little brain when we're thinking about window displays, and also just really kind of take you on that journey with me. So as I am recording this, it's the 15th of January, and I am planning on changing the window display for either the end of January or the beginning of February. Sometimes I have a set idea of what the next window display is going to be, and other times ideas just pop into my head. And I have to say, throughout 2019, my window display journey, for want of a better way of describing it, was a little bit haphazard, and I didn't really do any planning. But I'm going to try and be a little bit better with that this year. However, my first theme, I always like to try and have some sort of theme for my windows, was actually inspired by a project that was mentioned in the 12 cast-ons cowl that we had at the end of December, beginning of January. And I can't remember who exactly it was. It might have been Margaret, but I apologise. But someone said they were knitting a bird, and I thought, wouldn't that be a fabulous window display? I haven't had a bird's window display yet, and we'll be going into spring, so I think you know, the return of all of our bird species and bird song and all that kind of good stuff is often associated with springtime. So yeah, that kind of sparked the idea, and I'm going to go from there really. At the moment the window display is very wintry. It's kind of left over from Christmas. I've taken all of the overtly Christmas things out of the window and just left wintry things. So I'll show you what the window looks like in a wee while, so you can see as it transitions. But yeah, it'll be nice by the end of January, beginning of February, to think about changing things up. An obvious theme would be hearts and Valentines, as that occurs in February, but it's only like one day, so I might have a little nod to that at some point, but I don't want to go all out hearts and things like that because it's only a short time, and I like to try and have my window displays last for a month to 6 weeks at least. Anyway, I'm digressing slightly. So yes, birds. I like to have a mixture of knitted and crocheted items in the window if I can, and obviously I like to, if I can, showcase yarns and patterns that we have in the shop. I do have some birds already made up at home that I can definitely use. I made a pelican for the beach window that we had a couple of summers ago, and I also have some little Easter chicks and some of those beautiful bluebirds of happiness, which is a free pattern over on Ravelry, and when I'm sitting in my craft room you may see them hanging on the wall behind me, so I can repurpose those for the window. So I've already got some bits and pieces that are made that I can use. The making of stuff is always the thing that takes the time. I am lucky in that now my customers are really on board when we do a window display change, and they love to make things as well. So I've already mentioned the new theme to a couple of my groups, and a few of them already have bits and pieces in their own sort of collections at home that they are willing to bring in to me to use for the display, and I'm going to make a few bits and pieces as well. So yeah, I have been through the collection of books and patterns that I have in the shop, and I've pulled a few off the shelf. So I've got this lovely book called Knitted Birds by Nikki, oh gosh, I'm going to make a pig's ear of that, aren't I? Filakowska, hopefully you can see that. I have Edward's Menagerie from Toft, Kerry Lord, the Birds book. And I also have a book that's been around for a while. It's more like a pattern leaflet from Jean Greenhow, who is very famous here in the UK. If you have relatives that knit through the 70s and 80s, you've probably been gifted or seen a Jean Greenhow pattern. These have been around for a long time. But this particular book has a few ducklings in, so I may be able to make use of this as well. So yeah, the beginnings of an idea are starting to form. I like to have things sort of dangling down in the window because that adds an extra dimension. I've got a really big front window here in the shop, and as luck would have it, a couple of doors down from us we have a charity shop, so a second-hand op shop, trying to think of other words that I have here, a thrift store. So in your part of the world they might be called something different, but here in the UK we're able to donate unwanted goods to a charitable cause, and they resell them to raise money for various charities. And we have one 2 doors down from us who often have interesting things in their window displays, and as I walked past this morning I saw this, which is a sort of wooden unpainted bird feeder, which is really cute, and it was for sale for this princely sum of £2. So I decided to snap that up because I think that will make a great addition to my birds display. I could have a couple of knitted or crocheted birds sort of sat on the feeder, maybe one on top, and have this sort of dangling down in the window. I'm not sure if I'll leave it blank yet, or maybe I will paint it up. I'll see how the mood takes me and whether I have time to do that. So yes, between pattern books and a few little bits and pieces prop wise, the idea is starting to form, and we'll see where it goes. Morning. Well, at least it's morning for me. It's been about a week since I recorded the first segment for this video, and I am hoping to change the window display on Friday if I get time. I have been super fortunate in that some of my customers have been bringing in bits and pieces that will go with our birds theme. But this morning I've been dashing around the house pulling out some of the things that I already have made that are going to go into the window. So I thought before I head into the shop this morning, I'll just show you those. So first off, and these are a little bit nostalgic because these also went into my very first ever window display, are these chicks. So these are made from a pattern, I think it's called Esme and Ernie. It was free on the Rowan website, so if that's still true, I will put a link down below this video. And basically I'd made these quite a few years ago, or at least I'd made these two quite a few years ago out of some yarn that I got from free on the front of a magazine. That sort of really not very nice quality acrylic that you often get on those kits. This guy was made a little bit later because originally I had a third one of these in the blue, sort of the blue of the legs there, in the window as well. And with my first window display, it didn't occur to me that people might be interested in buying the things that were in the display. So I went into a bit of a panic, and a lady came in and sort of said, can I purchase one of those little chicks? And I didn't really want to let him go, but then I didn't want to let a customer go as well. So I ended up selling the third one, which I'm really sad that I did now, because the one that I made, although, you know, he's part of the set, he's not really part of the set. These are sort of like slightly squished and loved. This one's a little bit bigger, and he's not quite the same blue. I didn't have any more of this blue, so he doesn't really match anymore, but never mind. So yes, they will be going in the window, 3 little sort of Easter chicks. I also have this little bird that I crocheted last year from some scraps of my hand spun. So yeah, that's quite a fun little pattern. It was a free pattern on Ravelry, I think. So again, I shall link that below, and I'm tempted to maybe crochet up a couple more of these in some yarns that I have like scraps of left in the shop. So that might be on the agenda today while I have my crochet group. His eyes are a little bit weird, but I just used scraps of stuff that I had around, and I couldn't use a dark colour for the eyes because it just wouldn't have stood out against that sort of burgundy blue of the handspun. And then finally, I have my little string of birds of happiness, which you'll often see hung up behind me. And I am going to dismantle this actually, and somewhere in this room over the other side, I think, I have got an embroidery hoop. So I'm going to restring these from an embroidery hoop, and then they will get hung up in the window as well. And I made these ones out of some really fun sort of scraps of some precious yarns, and this one's got a hole in it, so he will need to be fixed. Look, he's sprung a leak. That's a shame, isn't it? Never mind, I think I'll probably be able to find a scrap of orange yarn around here somewhere to fix him. These little things take barely any time to knit up at all. So again, if I need a few of these to add to the display once I get started, then I might knit up some of these while I'm in the shop. So yeah, they're the plans so far. So I've got quite a nice little collection of stuff, ready-made, that can go in the window. And when I get to the shop later, maybe today or maybe tomorrow, depending on what time I have, I'll show you a couple of the bits that I've been making in the past week or so. It's actually been much longer than I'd hoped since I recorded the last segment of this video. I've had some boring business admin stuff to attend to, so the window still has not been changed. I'd hoped to do it last week. It's the 28th of January as I'm recording this today, and it's a Tuesday today. I'm hoping to get the window changed on Friday, as that is a day that I usually have entirely free of groups and classes. But I thought I'd pop on today just to show you some of the things that I've been making. So I have been using this book from the stock that I have in the shop, and I decided just to pick a couple of patterns and make a couple of things. So the first thing I made is the nest on the front here and a few eggs to go with it. So I actually went to one of the local discount stores and picked up a roll of jute twine that you usually use in the garden, which was recommended in the book, and I knit just sort of a circle nest. It's a really quick make, and I think that's going to look quite cute in the window with this little collection of eggs. So the eggs, I've made 5 of them to fill up the middle of the nest because the nest turned out quite large in the end. And I've been using some new yarn that I have in the shop from Stylecraft. Let me just grab a ball, there's some on the table. It's Bambino prints from Stylecraft, and there's these gorgeous sort of speckly stripes in the yarn. There's a few different colourways, but I used that one that I just showed you, which is called Rocking Horse. And so yeah, I've got 5 eggs, and they're all sort of various different shades of grey and brown and cream with these speckles going on as well. So if I can hold this up without everything falling out, this is sort of my, let's try and get up, there we go, it's my nest and my eggs, which will form part of the display. We've also been collecting some of these feathers that keep popping out of the cushions that we have here in the shop, so I'm going to sprinkle those in the nest as well. And someone suggested to pick up maybe a couple of twigs or something, so I might keep an eye out for that, just to make the nest look as authentic as possible. And so that's done. One of my customers has also given me a couple of finished objects that she's made from the book. So she's made the swan and the owls and one of the blue tits. So I've got those out of the back ready for when I get to the window display. But I absolutely fell in love with these adorable kingfishers that are in the book. I've only been lucky enough to see kingfishers in the wild a couple of times. This is what they look like in the book. So I have been busy knitting away making those. So my first kingfisher is done, all by his beak. So yeah, he looks a bit odd at the moment, maybe like a colourful whale or something rather than a bird, but I need to add this little felt beak. So I've got all the bits cut out and ready to do that so I can finish him off. And I've also made a second one. There's 2 in the book, and this was a really quick knit. So I sat this morning when I had the group this morning and knit up another one. So as you can see, it's knit flat and the intarsia technique is used. I did have a quick fiddle around to see if I could knit it in the round to save sewing up, but actually that was just so fiddly carrying all the yarns around that it worked out just as well to knit flat and sew up. It's only one seam to sew up down the middle. Quick mattress stitch and that is done. So yes, I've got the body of the second Kingfisher knit, so I just need to pop in some safety eyes, stuff it, sew it up and add the beak and the wings. So that's what I'm hoping to do before I leave the shop today. It's Friday, which means I am going to attempt to change the window display in the shop today. Rather frustratingly, I managed to forget to bring my tripod with me into the shop today, so I'm not sure how easy it will be for me to get like footage of the process. I was going to do a time lapse, so yeah, we'll see. But I'll do my best, and if I can't get the footage, then obviously I'll just show you the before and after. So yeah, first step is to empty the window of the current display. So I shall flip you around and just show you what the window looks like now. It's very wintry, snowflakey. So yeah, it's a very pared down display at the moment. I've got snowflakes hanging. It's kind of like a simplified version of the Christmassy window that I had. I just made it more wintry. So it shouldn't take too long for me to strip this out. I need to just take the sort of snow sheet out and just empty everything and climb up on the steps to get the snowflakes down. As predicted, it really didn't take long for me to empty out what was left of the winter window. So I have given the window a wipe out. I'm just waiting for that to dry. It's always a good opportunity to have a bit of a clean and a dust. I thought I'd show you the chaos on the table at the moment. So I've got lots of different elements ready to put in for the next window display, and as per usual, I'm just going to figure it out as I go along. So this is the chaos that is the table in the centre of the shop. So down this end I've got bits and pieces that I've just taken out of the window, and I'm leaving them hanging around just in case I need them as elements for the next display. And then down this end I've got some of the bits that are going to comprise the next window display. So I've got a couple of the books that will go in the window. I also have some knitted crocheted items. So some of the things that I've been making, the nest and the kingfishers and the birds and the stuff that I brought from home. I've also, while I was putting away the box of Christmas and winter stuff, I fished out of the summer / beach display box the pelican that I made. I think he's called Huck, from the Edwards Menagerie Birds book. So he can form part of the window. One of my customers has been crocheting these really cute little woodland creatures, so we're going to have those in. Another one of my customers brought in a few sort of woodlandy type ornaments that she has hanging around the house, so we can fill out the display with those. I've got my little bird feeder that I purchased from the charity shop, and this mess in the middle is actually a embroidery hoop with a few strings hanging off. I'm going to string up those bluebirds of happiness that I bought from home. I've got a little bit of a driftwood stick that I picked up from the beach, and I do have a plan. I'm not sure if it's going to work out, but in this bag I've got a couple of birds that one of my customers has made. I've got the swan, a really cute blue tit, so he's probably going to go on the bird feeder. And then I've got a couple of owls as well, and I think the owls and the branch, there they are going to go together somehow. So yeah, let's see if we can transform this old mess and an empty window into some sort of display. Wish me luck. So the first thing that I do when I'm changing any window display is try and get the things that I want hanging in the window sorted out, because I need steps in the window to climb up and attach things to the hooks and the fittings for hanging. So I need the sort of floor of the window clear before I can do that. So I need to sit down for a second and figure out exactly what it is that's going to be hanging, and exactly what I need to do to make that work. As per usual, things are not going as I initially planned. I've only got 2 things hanging in the window now. The third, I just couldn't figure out a way to do it, so let me explain what I mean. So these gorgeous owls over here were knit by one of my customers. They're in the Knitted Birds book, and I had hoped to hang them. I had this sort of piece of fake greenery that someone gave me a while ago, which I used in another display. So I tentatively sort of sewed the owls to the bottom of that bower, and I was hoping to hang them, but the owls are so heavy, they just kept sort of flipping round on that branch, and I don't have anything to hand to sort of make them steady at the back. Like, I thought if I could find a pipe cleaner or a stick or something that I could sort of push up the back of the owl, that would sort of stabilise them, but I haven't got that handy, and I'm not going to spend any more time on it. So instead we've got this really naff meter cupboard in the corner of the window, so I've just propped them on there, on their bower. That means I have my little bluebirds of happiness hanging from an embroidery hoop. There's only 3 on here, so I need to make a couple more, because in the end I decided I needed extra birds for the feeder. So on top of the feeder I have this really gorgeous blue tit. He's facing the wrong way now, he's stopped twirling, but I figured I would stick a couple of the bluebirds into the sides of the feeder there. So that's really it for the hanging elements. At some point this evening I'll probably make a couple of extra bluebirds to hang off of that embroidery hoop. I contemplated hanging my kingfishers from the embroidery hoop. I'm not sure if I showed these finished. I've added the sort of felt beaks. I've overstuffed that one so you can see a few streaks of white coming through, but hey ho. And there is the second. But I have got another idea for these, so I'll see if that works out. If not, they might go onto the hanging hoop. So now all of the hanging bits and pieces are up, it's time for me to fill out the bottom of the window with the stuff that's left. So yeah, this is where I wing it even more because I didn't have a plan to start with. So I'll probably faff around for a bit and hopefully get something that is reasonably presentable. We shall see. So the kingfishers have turned out quite well. My customer recently gave me this basket, which has got this really lovely handle. It's got this really lovely handle coming off the top. The kingfishers have gone wonky. So when I saw it and I was thinking about the birds, I immediately thought pond. So I've covered the strange way my mind works. So I've covered the top of the basket with a blue fleecy fabric, and I thought the handle over the top will be the perfect branch for the kingfishers to hang out and hunt, waiting for fish to swim by for them to catch. So first iteration of the window is done. It's likely to change. I have some customers who have already said that they'll be making some extra things to put in to the display, so it will grow and change as it always does. It's pouring with rain outside at the moment, but I shall just step outside the shop and show you what the window looks like. So yeah, that really brings us to the end of this extra video, I guess. So you have been following the journey from idea to end point for our spring window display, and I hope you enjoyed coming along and finding out a little bit more about what's involved in the preparation and execution when we change the display here in the shop. Until we get to spend time together again, I hope that you get to enjoy some of the things that you love. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now.